Hello and welcome to the MELTA podcast. I'm Mike Clarkson, and with me today is English teacher, teacher trainer, CELTA tutor, and author of The Ultimate Guide to CELTA. Welcome to the podcast, Amanda Momeni.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
Now, Amanda, one of the reasons I've asked you to come today is because you're doing a MELTA workshop later in the week on the fascinating subject of ChatGPT. We're going to come to that later, but I thought it would be interesting, first of all, if you could just tell us something about your background, your career, and so forth.
Yeah, sure. So I've been teaching for probably too many years now. I think it's 26. And I then trained up as a CELTA tutor in 2009. And since then, I've been doing a combination of teaching and teacher training, which I really like, the kind of mixture of the two. I've taught quite a wide range of different areas. So I've done a lot of business English teaching. I had a stint where I taught kindergarten children. And I think the only age group I keep away from is teenagers, if possible.
Is that right? Can you tell me why?
Because I think they're probably the most difficult people to teach. The younger ones are motivated and the older ones are motivated, but the ones in between aren't necessarily motivated.
Aren't necessarily motivated. I think that sums it up nicely. Exactly. Yes. Great. Okay. Just going back to that. I believe, Amanda, you were born in Norwich. Is that right?
Suffolk, so
Okay.
just south of Norwich.
Okay. Okay. And at university, you studied Spanish and German. Is that right?
That's right. Yes.
I asked ChatGPT for your background. That's why I know.
Oh, it knows too much about me.
It doesn't know anything. That was a joke.
Yeah. No, I came out to Munich before I started university because I wanted to work on my German a little bit. And that's kind of where my German connection comes in. Then after studying and doing my CELTA in England, I then came back to Munich, and I've been here since then.
Oh, you came back to Munich, so you already knew Munich pretty well before.
Yeah, well, I'd worked here as an au pair for a year just to kind of work on my German language. So yeah.
And so to decide to live, work, and stay in Munich was an easy decision for you?
I don't know that it was an actual decision. It's just what happened.
I've heard that so many times.
Yeah, I think that's what happens to most people.
Yeah. And any particular reasons why you wanted to be a teacher, Amanda?
It's just something that's always interested me. I didn't necessarily think I would be going into English teaching, but of course, in Munich, that seemed to be what was in demand. And probably if I'd stayed in the UK, I would have ended up as a German and Spanish teacher, and then I would have had to deal with the teenagers. So I think it was the right decision.
So basically, we can sum that up by saying you are running away from teenagers.
Yes, despite having some of my own at home.
Well, if they're your own, that's a bit different, I guess, right? Great. Just one thing. Obviously, recent developments to do with Brexit and other things. Do you have your dual nationality, or what have you done, Amanda?
I do. Yeah, I got German nationality when the Brexit result was announced. Then after a little while, I started the very long process. And despite having studied German, I still had to do the A2 German test. But I jumped through all the hoops, and so I now have both, which makes life a bit easier.
A2 is a pretty easy hoop to jump through, isn't it?
Yeah. I think so, yeah.
Once you've been here a few years at least, yes.
Yeah.
And having that dual nationality means that you're no longer disenfranchised, right? You can actually vote.
I can, yes. Yeah, which is one of the things that I really missed, because I did politics A-level, so I've always been quite interested in politics, and I struggled with the idea of not being able to vote. Although I did read recently that in the UK they're thinking of bringing it in
mm,
that
mm.
people abroad can vote soon, but it's all too late because we've had the big one.
Well, to be honest, I mean, it's great. It would be great to be able to vote in British elections, but obviously the big Brexit referendum one would have been. I really don't think that Brexit would have happened if the what was it
No,
1.5 million Brits in
yeah,
Europe? Yeah,
yeah,
exactly,
no, it would have been a very different result, I think.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, Amanda, let's move on to your work at the Volkshochschule and CELTA.
Mhm.
You basically, with your colleague, if I understand correctly, with your colleague Emma Jones, you basically run the CELTA courses at the VHS together, right?
That's right. Yeah. So Emma's the course director. I do lots of the admin stuff like timetable writing, and we do the interviews together, and we write the assignments and things like that together. So yeah, we work together as a team and try and constantly improve the CELTA course. Yes.
Hmm. I don't know if you read it. Emma actually wrote an interesting article for this winter's MELTA News.
Yeah, I saw it at the weekend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she talks about how during COVID, lots of problems with cancellations, having to move online. But she said that things are more or less back up and running. Is that true? Could you tell us something about that?
We're moving in the right direction. Yeah, we had a really hard time. Obviously, people weren't interested in applying for a course. We made the decision that we didn't want to run CELTA online courses, which we still sometimes wonder whether it was the right decision, but I think it was for us in Munich. So it's been slow getting courses back up. Before COVID, we had 3 full-time courses and 2 part-time courses. I think this year we've had, if I remember rightly, 1 full-time course and 2 part-time courses getting off the ground. But this part-time course that's on at the moment, we've got 10 trainees, which is the most we've had for a while, and it's really nice to be working with a proper group again, or a big group again.
And the 10 participants, are they from all over the place or?
Yeah, let me think. We've got a couple of Americans, we've got a Ukrainian trainee, a Russian trainee, German, couple of German trainees, and even a Brit. Yes.
A Brit. Wow, yeah. Well, great. um, could you just say something, Amanda, about the importance of having CELTA as a qualification when you want to be a teacher, or even for existing teachers who maybe don't have it?
Yeah. I mean, trainees who come to, or people who apply for CELTA aren't just inexperienced teachers. We've got a trainee at the moment who's got sort of 20 years teaching experience and has now finally got the time and money to dedicate to CELTA, and she's learning loads. So she says it's really beneficial. I think CELTA and TEFL, which is run by Trinity, are the 2 programs that offer teaching practice, which is obviously the most important part of teaching. So the trainees get feedback, they get help with their planning, they get feedback on their teaching, and I think having that is invaluable really when you're going out into the teaching world.
Yeah, absolutely. Just on this question of, I mean, you said, if I understood correctly, that you decided not to do virtual CELTA courses. Can I just ask you
So
about that? Because obviously a lot of us as teachers, we've had to do a lot of virtual work since the pandemic.
yeah,
Is it because you just don't think it works as well, or why is that?
I think it works as well if you're going to be teaching online. I'm not convinced that it works as well if you're going to be doing face-to-face classroom teaching, because I think you miss out on learning some important classroom skills. I think the financial side was a big aspect for us, because if we were doing CELTA online, we'd be competing with centres all over the world, and other centres can offer the course for much less money than we can in Germany.
Oh, wow.
So I think that was a major factor in the decision. Also, the Volkshochschule is very focused on teaching in Munich or in Bavaria, and they weren't so sure about the idea of us training up teachers who would then be teaching in South America or Australia rather than in Munich or in Germany.
Yep. Great. Okay, good. Okay, then let's move on then, Amanda, on to the whole topic of ChatGPT and AI. I think maybe a good way to get into that is to ask you, first of all, why did you decide to do a workshop on ChatGPT?
This will be my second workshop. So I did one for the Munich Volkshochschule in September. I was asked to do that then. And since then, I've been asked to do a couple of others. I think it's a topic that's very interesting for us. It has huge benefits for teachers, I think. Some disadvantages as well, but I think, to my mind, the advantages outweigh the disadvantages, but I think everyone has to make that decision themselves if they want to use it. But yeah, I think it's a topic that can help us a lot in our teaching, and so it's a positive development for the teaching world, I think.
You say in your description for the workshop that the uses of it are in planning and courses, generating activities. You also talk about different genres of text. Can you explain a bit about those things?
So it's very easy to create a poem or a short story or a fact-based text. There's lots of different, you can just tell ChatGPT what genre you want, and it gives it to you. So I thought that's something we'd probably look at a little bit on Saturday in the workshop.
Oh, excellent. Good. Yes. And so concrete examples of how you personally use ChatGPT in the class?
I use it a lot to create text. So I think when we're teaching, if we're using a course book, then we want to be able to move away from the course book rather than just working through exercise one by one. Obviously, makes it a little bit more interesting for the students. And I think if we can personalize those activities, then it's even more interesting for the students. So, for example, I had a group of students the other day, and I wanted to get them to talk about their hometowns. So I started off, I asked ChatGPT to create a text about my hometown, and the text it created was way better and way quicker, obviously, than a text that I could have created. It would have taken me, I think, probably 45 minutes to an hour to create the text that ChatGPT did in 5 seconds.
It is a massive time saver. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm actually planning to use it for a Christmas quiz.
Okay.
Which I dabbled with it last year a little bit, and it was actually very impressive.
Right.
Obviously, you have to check these things. You have to check it, but make a few modifications. But it's so fast; it's unbelievable, right?
Yes. Yeah. I think the editing is for me one of the drawbacks. But as long as you're aware that you do need to check it, then that's not really a huge issue.
Right. I guess when we're talking about kind of checking, that kind of brings us into the kind of area of maybe possible risks or dangers of using ChatGPT. We're talking about accuracy, privacy, data privacy, stuff like this. I don't know. Is that something you talk about?
Yeah. So on Saturday in the workshop, we'll be looking at this a little bit. So I don't want to give too much away. But for me, one of the biggest issues is that you are giving your data away, basically. So I think this is something, especially if you work with companies and you're using company information, that you have to be a little bit careful with the information that you input into ChatGPT, because you are giving it to ChatGPT for it to use.
It is a bit scary when you put it in those terms, no? Because I mean, the whole area, the whole world of AI is pretty unregulated, right?
Yes.
We don't really know what happens to all this data that we are
Yeah, yeah. I think that's one of the major things. I think for authors as well, it's a little bit of a tricky area. I think, as far as I know, publishers are trying to work out a solution on how to deal with it, but I'm not really up to speed on how far they've got, or if they've managed to get anywhere with that. But I think because ChatGPT takes information from everywhere on the internet, then a lot of people are probably having their work taken.
Yeah.
And as an author, that's not something that
no,
I particularly like.
absolutely. Yes. Does the Foxhawk Schule actually have any kind of guidelines about use of and data sharing and all the rest of it, or?
And I don't think so as regard to ChatGPT, but I did read something quite interesting the other day, that we are not allowed to put students or trainees work through a ChatGPT checker or an AI checker, because we are then sharing their information. So before, when I've been to workshops for CELTA tutors, there's been discussion about how we can put written assignments through a check to make sure that it's not done by ChatGPT, but that is actually not allowed. I think within Germany, because it's not our information to share.
Exactly. Yeah. I know, speaking to some students who use it in German companies here in Munich, that companies are very, very strict when it comes to any sort of company-related information, even information relating to employees, for obvious reasons, right?
Yeah. I think that's something that we still need to learn quite a lot about, and to sort of work out what's okay and what's not okay. Yeah,
absolutely. I couldn't resist the temptation, Amanda, of asking ChatGPT in preparation for this interview, how to use ChatGPT in the classroom, just to see how ChatGPT would answer this itself. And I won't go through it. It was obviously very, very quick, but it's a full A4 sheet of paper here.
Wow.
But it talks about conversation practice, writing assistance, vocabulary expansion, grammar and syntax, cultural context, interactive language games, role-playing scenarios, and homework support. That sounds pretty impressive, doesn't it?
Pretty good. Yeah, we're not going to be needed any longer soon.
I wanted to come on to that. I mean, do you think that we as teachers, as trainers, do you think our days are numbered?
I think I'll be retired by the time that happens.
You're not
so I'm not worrying
one.
about it too much. But I did look quite recently at some chatbots designed to practice speaking skills with students, and they're also really developing. So this idea of that we're irreplaceable, I think, is probably wrong. I think we probably can be replaced. I don't know how long it will be until we are replaced, because I think some people, certain generations still like that interaction.
I think, to be honest, that's something which people will probably always want, the kind of personal, social aspect of communication. I mean, if your work is purely online, emailing and stuff, maybe not. But if they actually want to speak to people,
yeah, I'm not sure how the younger generations who grow up with it will be about that. Because I think for us, it's an important part of daily life, but maybe generations to come, or the younger generations at the moment, maybe it's not such an issue. But I think maybe our role as teachers will just change, that we become kind of facilitators rather than teachers. I think we're kind of going in that direction anyway, a little bit. So I think maybe that will just continue further.
Right. Yeah. I was actually I had a class this morning in which one of the students was a translator. And she was telling me that she is seriously thinking about looking for a new job because, you know, the future of translating is really not looking good at all. I mean, we all know that with DeepL, ChatGPT, of course, it does a fantastic job at translating, right?
They're getting better and better, aren't they? I think if I was a translator, or purely, I do some translation, but if I was just a translator, I'd be quite worried.
Yes.
Indeed.
Indeed. Okay, good. Just to listeners for the podcast, if you want to learn more about ChatGPT, and especially if if you're not able to attend Amanda's workshop this coming Saturday, there are several very, very good articles on ChatGPT and AI in MELTA News throughout the year 2023, including the latest winter edition. Okay, Amanda, unless there was anything else that you wanted to say relating to the workshop or ChatGPT, then we can wrap up basically. I'd like to finish by asking you something which I ask everybody who comes onto the pod, and it's putting you on the spot a little bit.
Oh no!
Don't worry. What piece of advice would you give to prospective or actual teachers of languages?
I think probably the main piece of advice I would give would be to listen to your students, and use your students as a resource. We can get a lot from our students, and maybe that makes our life easier too.
That's a great answer. Answer. Amanda, thank you so much. That was great. That was fascinating. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. And yes, we are hoping to bring out, in fact, we definitely will be bringing out more podcasts in the new year. The next one should be out in January. Amanda, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Take care. Bye-bye.